Hey y'all, I want to welcome you to a new episode of Chronic Convos, where every jewel you receive here gets you one step closer to receiving your crown from God. Now, y'all, these jewels are not intended for you to just go store them in the back of your closet and take them out when you're bored. But what you want to do is take them back to God and start your own conversation with Him, where He will provide you with insight, instruction, and increase. I am your host, Aaliyah, and I'm so happy you're joining me today. So, you guys, this is going to be a new episode. I know we are still in the series of Why Does God Make Us Wait? I feel like this can kind of go hand in hand in it. Ultimately, I'm going to let Holy Spirit lead how He wants to lead. But, y'all, He gave me such a good message last week on Friday, talking to my friend. And God has continued pouring into it so much over the weekend that last night I just found myself just crying because I was just filled with gratitude. So let's go ahead and get into it. So Friday. Now first, y'all remember the same friend who kind of inspired the change message, right? So he and I are talking, and let me tell y'all about my friend. Like I said, we are really good friends. He's not my best friend, but we are really good friends. And I learned a lot from him. And apparently he learns a lot from me as well. But he is a go-getter. He is very driven. He is a man with a plan. And so that doesn't go against what I'm for, but I just know and understand that you can do something and you can work your behind off for 20 years doing something that God could have gave you in 5 days. Or you can have your own plan and you can plan for generational wealth. You can plan for how you want to take your parents out of work and how you want to give your wife this and your husband that and make sure your kids got XYZ. And you can work your behind off right now for the next 5 years to set yourself up for that, when God could have gave that to you in 2 months if you would have sat still and sat in His presence and just listened to the plan that He has for you, not the plan that you have for your life. I stand strongly on that because God has changed so many of my plans. So I'm like, everything that I want to do, I now take it back to Him. Is this something that you want me to do? Okay, if this ain't something that you want me to do, is this an idea you want me to give to somebody else? Right? This is a money-making idea. Do you want me to give this to somebody else? Like, what do you want me to do with this? And so, I say all that to say, my friend, he is dead set on working hard right now so that he can retire in 5 years and he can have residual income coming in, making $20,000 months. And this is his plan. So he is prepared to have sleepless nights. He is prepared to miss out on right now fun to have that so that he can experience the fun that he wants long term and in the future. And one of the things that he wants so desperately is to be able to serve people. Now, what I will say is why he has this drive to have generational wealth. My friend is on fire for God, and he has this drive to serve God's people. He has this drive to start a church. He has this drive to go help out at food pantries or homeless shelters. Like, he really wants to be of service to people. And so what the conversation was is he just feels like he can serve people better when he has the money to do it, right? Nobody really wants to listen to the knowledge that he gives now because you don't have the money to back up what you're telling me. And I get it. I completely get him. I get where his mind is at. But what I told him, and it was nobody but God. What I told him is, wait now. Don't think you're not serving people where you're at now. He's a fellow project manager just like me. But we have gospel on Friday, every Friday. He and we minister to each other. We have our own church. This is us. We talking about life. We talking about God. We encouraging each other. Like, this is us. So I'm like, don't think that you're not being of service to people where you are. Don't think in your meetings that you lead, you have not been of service to the people who have listened, that they might have needed a word. Don't think that when you went to the grocery store and you smiled at this person, don't think that wasn't something that they needed. Right? Don't think that you just bought this person a soda. It was nothing to you, but it could have been everything to them. Right? Don't think that you're not being of service to people where you are. And the funny thing about it is, there was this verse that I had been looking for, and I'm asking God, what is that verse? What is that verse? It's this verse that's like, God is going to give you what you need to do His will. Like, Lord, what is it? and I finally got it, is Hebrews chapter 13, verses 20 through 21. So Hebrews 13, verses 20 through 21 says, "Now may the God of peace, who brought up from the dead our Lord Jesus, the great shepherd of the sheep, through the blood of the everlasting covenant, equip you with everything good to do his will, working in us what is pleasing in his sight, through Jesus Christ, to whom be glory forever and ever. Amen." Now, let's remove all the fluff that was in there. "Now may the God of peace equip you with everything good to do his will, working in us what is pleasing in his sight." God will give you everything that you need. When God sends you on assignment, when he is sending you on a mission, whether it is to go feed the homeless, whether it is to go pay somebody's bill, whether it is to go buy somebody clothes, whether it is something as simple as speaking a word and preaching the good news to them, God will give you what you need to do what he is asking you to do. He will never ask you to do something and you don't have the tools, and you don't have the knowledge, you don't have the materials to do it. He will never do that to you, right? So you can be of service. When you humble yourself down, you can be of service. God can use you to do anything that he is asking you to do. And you have to know that God is going to bring you whatever it is that he needs you to have at the time that you need it. Right? So if God is sending you on an assignment, if God is telling you to do something, if he has told you to do something and you have not done it because you feel like you don't have what you need to do it, I encourage you to stop. I encourage you to go back to God and let him know, "God, I am ready. What is it that you want me to do? I'm ready. I take my hands off. I'm not going to go off of human knowledge anymore. I'm not going to go off what my mind thinks I need or what the world has told me that I would need for an assignment like this. I'm going to go strictly off of what you said. Now, what is my task? How do you want me to do this?" Y'all have to know the God that you serve. He doesn't intend to harm you. And that's not just in a physical way or a financial way. That's in an emotional way. That's in a mental way. He's not going to have you stressed out to do something that he is calling you to do. Now, there are two things to that, because, of course, in the spiritual sense, God is going to give you what you need, but you have human feelings, you have human flesh. And so I'm not saying that the journey that God sends you on or the task that God sends you to do is not hard. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that stop thinking that you need a certain thing or you need to reach a certain place or a certain level in life in order for you to do what God is calling you to do. And I'm someone, y'all know I'm the first person to admit that I have stopped so much of God's assignments because I'm like, "God, I don't have the money that I need. God, I don't have the materials that I need. God, I don't have the education that I need. God, where are the people who are going to assist me on this assignment?" Right? So I have blatantly just told him I'm not doing it because I feel like I don't have what I need. And guess what happened? I'm the one that has to suffer the consequences of that. Because now something that I could have had in 3 months now is about to take me the next 5 years to get, because I done took so long getting into alignment with what he's telling me to do. Right? So God has given me some examples in the Bible where he has sent people to do something. So Moses, in Exodus, so y'all know Moses was the Israelite who led the Israelites from the Egyptians who had oppressed them and who had made them slaves, right? So if you go back to Exodus chapter 3, verses 3 through 4, chapters 3 through 4 is when God is giving Moses the assignment. This is when God is telling him, "This is what I want you to do," right? And so in Exodus chapter 3, Moses is giving God all type of like, "I can't do this. Moses went from Exodus chapter 3 to Exodus chapter 4 telling God why he could not do this. "God, what if the people don't believe me? What if they don't believe you sent me? Who am I supposed to say sent me? God, I have a stuttering problem. I talk with a lisp. They're not going to understand me. They're going to make fun of me." Like, Moses came with so much stuff, and God had it like this. "This is what you're going to say. This is what you're going to do. This time I'm going to tell you to do this." Right? God sent him with the instructions. Moses didn't have to come through this by himself. So in Exodus chapter 4, God let Moses know, all you need is that staff that's in your hand. I'm going to work my miracles through that staff that's in your hand. That's all I need you to do. You see that staff? Put it on the floor. That's all I need you to do. If they don't believe in this, then I'm gonna do something else. If they don't believe in that, then I'm gonna do something else. Moses, but I can't talk. I don't have the words to say. Oh, okay. Well, how about your brother Aaron? Okay, he on his way to you right now. So we just gonna use him. You gonna give him the words to say. And think about that. Aaron was on the way to Moses. Moses didn't have to go searching for the tool or the material. He didn't have to go search for that thing. God said, I'm going to send it to you. That's God saying, whatever you need, wherever I send you, I'm going to give that to you at the time when you need it. So right now, you're just at step 1. What you think you need to start, you don't need that till step 5. So you can start now, and then when the time comes for me to give you that, me as in God, when the time comes for me to give you that, I'm going to give it to you then. There's going to be a person who's waiting for you right now at step 5. They're going to give you what you need. Provision is right there at step 3. You ain't got to worry about nothing. It's right there at step 3, but you have to do step 1. You have to go. You haven't even gone yet because you're focused so much on something that's honestly not even your business. This is God's plan. This is God's mission. This is God's assignment. He's just tasking you to do it. So anything outside of the immediate instruction God has given you is not your business. You in God's business and you in his way now. Because you're stopped right here. So you're blocking what he is trying to do. David is another person God used. David and Goliath. And this is in 1 Samuel chapter 17, verses 32 through 51. So they got this big old giant, and the Israelites, they scared. David is nobody but a shepherd. He's watching the sheep. He's taking care of the sheep and stuff like that. He don't know nothing. He's the youngest one of the group. David comes to bring his brothers lunch, and he sees them running from Goliath. And he's like, what are y'all doing? Like, what y'all got going on? And, he learns of this assignment. Whoever kills Goliath, he's going to do XYZ. He's going to get XYZ. David went with the strength of God to do it, to take on that task where everybody bigger than him was scared to do it. But David took it on. Even the king distracted him, not intentionally, of course, but distracted him by saying, well, let me give you this armor and let me give you this sword. God told David, you don't need that. David took Goliath down with a stone. He collected 5 stones. He only used 1 stone in a slingshot to take him down. Go with what you have. You don't need no extra. You don't need nothing else. God will equip you to do his work. He will equip you. He will give you what you need to take care of his business. This is his business. This is his stuff. Y'all don't think he want to make sure his stuff is good? Like, forget us. Like, forget the little people. When you do stuff, don't you want to make sure you do it to the best of your ability? You want to make sure you take care of it the way that you need to take care of it, the way that you know that it is complete and it is done. You don't think God has that same standard for himself? That he wants to ensure that this task is done? So he's going to give you what you need. Forget about the skills that you feel like you need. God will give you that. You ever seen somebody who did not have this experience, but God has placed them in this position for this role, and they are the only person who can do this? They don't have the experience. My role, I knew nothing about IT before I started my role. I learned so quick. My manager was talking about promotion within 2 months of me being there. I learned so fast. I didn't need an IT degree. I didn't need the experience in IT. I didn't need to know how to use the software. God gave me the knack for learning things so fast. And I'm not even saying it in no boastful way. But y'all, it is mind-boggling how fast I can learn something. From the foundation, not something that I've learned before and this is just a relearning thing. I'm talking about the IT software that I've used. I've never heard of it before. And God all of a sudden put me in this position and caused me to come in and start training the people who have been here for 20 years on how to do this stuff. If you do what God is telling you to do, He's going to equip you with what you need to get it done. There's a verse that says God will complete His work. God plans to finish His work. All right, so it's Philippians chapter 1, verse 6. It says, I am sure of this, that He who started a good work in you will carry it on to completion unto the day of Christ Jesus. Not only that, but while I was looking for it, I'm reminded of Philippians chapter 4, verse 19, which says, verse 19. And my God will supply all your needs according to His riches and glory in Jesus Christ. Right? So we're not talking about the things that you think you need. We're talking about the things that God says that you need. Right? And we have to start trusting that God knows better than us. We are just men. There are so many levels of thinking that our minds cannot even grasp it. There are so many levels to thinking, like outside of us, right? So we have to start trusting that God knows what He is doing within our lives and the things that He has for us to do. We have to know who it is that we serve. So one of the things God has ministered to me over the last 2 years is you take what God gives you, whatever it is, whether it's a healthy marriage, whether it's children, whether it's a family, whether it's a job, whether it's financial wealth, whether it's physical health, whatever it is, you take what God gives you, you give it back to Him. Give it back to Him, y'all. Don't cling to what He gives you, but give it back to Him for Him to bless and multiply it. Do y'all know where that comes from? It comes from when Jesus fed the 5,000 and when He fed the 4,000. So if you remember in Matthew chapter 14, verses 13 through 21, Jesus fed 5,000 people from 2 loaves of bread and 5 fish. Or it was 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread. It was 5 and 2. He fed 5,000 people. But what did He do when He got the bread? And mind you, look, they didn't have to go searching for it. It was right there. The people were hungry and the food was right there. Nobody had to go search for it. God intended for Jesus to do a miracle here, and He brought Him what He needed. Do y'all hear me? It's right there. Whatever you need, when God says that you need it, He will bring it to you. You don't have to go searching for it. You don't have to go looking for it. You don't have to go paying for it or trying to bribe somebody to get it. You don't have to fast for it. You don't have to fast and pray for it. You don't have to give up everything you have for it. God will bring it to you. He will bring it in your immediate vicinity. You don't have to go searching for it. So Jesus took the bread. He broke it in half. He put it back up in the air and gave it to God to bless. And from there, He was passed out to 5,000 different people. He did it again in the next chapter, Matthew chapter 15, verses 32 through 38. Jesus fed 4,000 people from 7 loaves of bread and several fish. Broke the bread, gave it back to God, and God multiplied it. So whatever it is that you have, go with what you have. Give it back to God and allow Him to bless and multiply it. God told you to sow a seed into somebody. God told you to give somebody $50. Give it to that person, because when you're giving it to them, you are giving it to God. Allow God to increase you in that way. God told you to service somebody just by praying for them. Do y'all know what your prayers can do for people? If you are an honest follower of God, and if God has called you to intercede and pray for people, do you know what your prayers can do? Do you know how your prayers can heal people? Whatever God, you go with what He gave you. You go with what you have. Don't wait on nothing else. Go with what you have. Give it back to God and allow Him to multiply it. It don't matter what little you think you have. It's a lot to somebody who doesn't have it. Another example He gave me was the woman with the oil in Elijah. And this is back in 1 Kings chapter 17, verses 8 through 16. So if you remember, the woman, Elijah, if you remember, Elijah was being fed by ravens. He was drinking water out of a brook. The whole town was in a famine. He was drinking water out of a brook, and God sent ravens to feed him. God sent birds to bring him food. When the water in the brook dried out, God said, "Go to this widow's house. I have instructed her to feed you." He gets there. The widow is looking for sticks and stones to make a fire so that she can cook. Elijah says, can you give me some water? She says, yeah, sure. Then he says, can you also make me a little bit of bread? She said, listen, I don't have any bread. I only have a little bit of olive oil, and I'm actually about to get ready to cook something for me and my son because this is going to be our last meal since we don't have anything else. Elijah says, do what you're doing. Bring me the olive oil. Go ahead and do what you're doing. Bring me the olive oil. Bring me the bread. Because God says, for the rest of this famine, you will not need anything. You will have the bread. You will have the olive oil. You and your son will not die of hunger and thirst. You will be provided for the rest of this famine. She had a little bit of olive oil. She didn't even have any bread. And guess what? For the rest of that famine, she had bread and olive oil. They did not run out. She had a little bit. She gave it to God because she gave it to Elijah. She gave it to God, and God blessed and multiplied it. And that's why we have to get in the habit of not being so stingy and clingy to the things that we have, because it doesn't belong to us. It is God's. This is God's stuff. The money that's in my account, it belongs to God. My car belongs to God. My house belongs to God. My job belongs to God. You have to not have such ownership over your stuff that you can't give it away. Because what you just did in that moment is you just made that an idol. You just told God that the thing that he told you to give up, that you just cannot give up, it is now more important than his will. It is now more important than the instructions that he has given you. That's how you create something to be an idol in your life. When God is asking for it and you can't give it up. So that man that he has been asking you to get rid of and you won't give him up, you have created that man to be an idol. That woman that you just can't get enough of, like you just got to have her, but God told you to stop dealing with her and you haven't, you have created her to be an idol. That money, you got $3 million in your account. Oh, and you got plans to do some big things. You even got plans to go help the homeless. God just told you to just go give it to a church. You don't want to do it. You have created that money to be an idol. That's how quick it is for something to become an idol. The first time you put it before God, the first time you decide that you want to disobey God because of this thing, you have created it to be an idol. It is now an idol. And we know God is a jealous God. He don't play that. So you ain't got too many times to make something more important than him before he come and take it. So you can get rid of it willingly and chance and know that he's going to give it back in a better condition. You can get rid of it willingly, or you can lose it and lose your soul along with it. Which one you want to do? Right? So get into that habit of being able to give up whatever it is that's your comfortability, what the state of mind that you're comfortable in, the state of location, the state of presence that you're comfortable in. Be okay with giving it up and giving it to God so that he can bless and multiply you. So I have a small testimony, and this is what has made me so emotional over this weekend, because like I said, as God continued pouring into me about being of service, one of the things that I struggled with, I'll say recently, over the last 2 years, is when my family stayed with me. So just in a complete state of transparency, I did not have a close relationship with my mother or my sisters. I grew up feeling like I was the eyeball. I grew up feeling like I was at odds with everybody and everybody opposed me. So my biggest thing was when I got out the house, it was just going to be about me and my son. until I got married, then me and my husband and my son and our kids and just the family that I created. I didn't really care about the family that I came from, right? So I have my house. We blessed. And then all of a sudden, my younger sister has to come stay with me. I open the doors to her. And then all of a sudden after that, my mom has to come stay with me. And I'm still not 100% completely in a good space with either of these people. But I knew that this house wasn't my house. So I knew that when God called me to open my doors to them, I was not to walk around like, yeah, this is my house, these the rules, this is my house, this is how I go. I knew I wasn't to do that. I knew that this was God's house. And I was only an extension of him. And when my house flooded, it kind of put me in a bad space because it made me realize that I didn't have anybody to call on when something happened. I was the one who was there for everybody, but I didn't have nobody. Like my mom or my sister couldn't open their doors and say, hey, you can stay with me, because they were staying with me, so they didn't have their own place. So it hurt me, and I'm not gonna lie, it's still something that still bothers me, because I want somebody to be there for me like I'm there for the others, right? And I'm not just there for my family, I'm there for strangers, I'm there for friends, I'm there for enemies. Like, my love is not contingent on how I feel about you, because I love you the way that God loves me, and I love you in a way that I want God to be proud of it at the end. So I can't go based off how I feel about you, because it's going to cause me to be disobedient to God. So what God said to me the other day, again, all I had was my house. I was living check to check. My mortgage was taking one of my checks. I was making $16.50 an hour. My mortgage was taking one of my checks, right? And the other check was going to household bills. So I was living check to check. And but all I could offer them was my house in a peaceful environment. And God told me I gave what I had, and there was nothing wrong with that. He also reminded me of that verse in Deuteronomy where it says, you will be the lender and not the borrower. And he was like, why do you want to be a borrower so bad? Why do you want to borrow? Why do you want to have to humble yourself down and go ask somebody for something? You are in a great position when you are the lender, where you're not borrowing from anybody, where you can help others. Why do you want to be a borrower so bad? And I just been crying ever since, because I never thought about it like that. Like, and again, this is what I mean when I say there's a higher level of thinking that we just don't get from our human nature. I'm so focused on the fact that can't nobody do nothing for me. God is like, baby girl, be blessed that you can do this for others. I have blessed you because I trust that you will bless others. I know that you will help people without a doubt, without hesitation. I got to hold you back from helping people because you want to help everybody. So I know you got that in you. That's why I blessed you in that way. Because I know you're not going to get clingy with it. Because I know you're not going to say, this is my house, this is my money. I ain't giving you no money, this is my money. He's like, I know you're not going to do that. Stop being so ready to be a borrower. And then not even just that, but I'm your lender, God. I got you. I got you. If you ever needed anything, I got you. Don't worry about your family and your friends not being able to pour into you in that way. I got you. If you ever was in dire need, I would send somebody to bless you. You don't have to worry about that. And I believe that. I believe, because I know the God that I serve. I know that if I ever needed something, because right now it's just a want. It's just a want to know that somebody got my back. And that's not invalid. When you are a giver and a lover, it's very valid to want that love back. It's even valid to want it back from people, even though you know that you get it from God. It's even valid to want that from the people that's beside you. That's a valid feeling. We're humans, so that's valid. I can never invalidate that. But God, I can't tell y'all how often I pour into people, how often I pray for people and I pour into people, giving them an inspirational message, giving them a word that God has ministered to me. And then I just randomly receive a text from somebody that says, I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of the mother you are. I'm so proud of the woman that you are. That I receive a phone call say, yeah, I'm just thinking about you. Just wanted to let you know I loved you and I missed you and I hope you're doing well. God knows when I need that pouring into me. Not when I want it just to boost my ego a little bit. He knows when I really need it. When I'm in my soul, I don't feel nothing. And he knows what he has to do to pour back into me. And he does it. He's never missed a moment where I've needed him to pour into me and he's poured into me. Right? So, be quick about God's business and be willing to give back whatever God gives you so that he can bless you so much so that you are overflowing and you will bless others. Be willing and ready to do that. And the one thing that I love about God is God can send you on as many missions as possible, but God don't just send you. God gives you the desire for it. God doesn't want you working for him with a bad attitude. He don't want you pouting about it. So you could sit there in your little corner till you get back in alignment, until your heart says, yes, God, I will do it. Yes, God, I will go. So, just trust that God will equip you with everything that you need, y'all. Everything. A game plan, wisdom, knowledge, finances, people, community, the car, the transportation, y'all, God, the materials, whatever you need. God has you. Don't worry about the extra stuff. Don't worry about God's business. Go with what you have, no matter how much it is, because guess what? The little bit, all you need is a little bit for God to bless you and multiply you. God will take this little bit and make it this. God will take your little bit and make it bigger than you have ever imagined. Know the God that you serve and know that that's what he's about when it comes to his business. So, yeah, y'all, that was, I kind of feel like it'll go hand in hand with the why God makes us wait, but not really. But either way, this message was needed because, like I said, this message has stayed on me since Friday. And last night I went to bed and I'm like, well, Lord, do I post a message about that? Or do I continue my series? And I wake up and the first thing that I see when I log on is one of the people that I watch. They are actually going to be doing a live tonight about God will equip his people to do his good work. That's the title of his live. He'll be going live at 8 p.m. His page is Walk in Faith if anybody watches it. But they will be doing a live about it. So I'm like, all right, God, I know what I'm talking about today. Now give me the verses. Lead me in the way that you want this to go. Make it all make sense. Because it's been making sense to me all weekend. And like I said, I thought I was going to get online with puffy eyes because I cried all last night. I think I cried a little bit this morning because I just realized how blessed I really am. And I only had a little bit. I only had a little bit of me. I only had a little bit of my house. I gave my mom them a room. But it was more than what they had, so it was a blessing, and God has blessed it and multiplied it. I don't need a lot of extra stuff. Also, take note that sometimes when it says God will equip you for your perfect will, his perfect will, sometimes he's talking about the experience. So some of the things that we are sitting in right now, we need that experience for the testimony. So you're going through what you're going through right now because it's a part of your story. But let it be a part of your story. Let it be whatever God is calling for it to be. Because on the other end of that, there are souls that are going to be touched by whatever your testimony is, whatever your story is. There's somebody who is going to be touched by what you had to endure, by what you had to give up, by what little bit you had to go with. There's somebody who's going to be touched by that. And that's what matters. That's our sole purpose on here, is to spread the good news and to spread the good news and draw people back to God. Right? So let God use you in that way. So y'all, hopefully God has us get back to the series, because I definitely do not want to leave it with God make you wait because he didn't tell you that. I don't want to leave it with that. There's so much more that I want to add to it. So hopefully he has me get back to this episode next week or whenever I come back. But until then, I do want to thank y'all for tuning in. I wish you guys nothing but love and light. Peace, love, and blessings to you all. And I will see y'all on the next episode.